round robin.
I say we just start talking. I
Yeah,
mean,
let's just start talking.
So this is
yeah,
episode 138.
We're just yakking. We're just four folks yakking.
Five guys
yeah,
yakking. Four guys
yeah.
and a girl yakking.
Three dads yakking and a mom yakking and a fourth dad to arrive later.
And a fourth, and
Yakking.
then some cats may appear. Some cats may be
Yeah,
meowing.
there's
Cats meowing.
Cats meowing.
All right, you hit record, Mike.
Yes.
Hello. Welcome to episode 138 of the Foz or Friends of Zeus podcast. I'm Zeus. On board here is Mike, Jack, and Desiree. Tonight we just kind of want to follow up on, it was last week's episode, right? There wasn't one in between for me.
No.
We want to follow up on the Hamas Israel situation, Palestine Israel situation. I kind of wanted to explore the reactions that I've seen, because I've actually asked a few people. Like, I work with a lot of Muslim people, and I've been like, well, how do you feel about this? And for me, I find it interesting in these times where everybody is so one side or the other. I'm finding that a lot of people that I talk to are like, I feel bad for the people in the middle. Like, there's a lot more of that going on than I suspected. I'm not talking to a lot of people that are pro-Israel or pro-Palestine. They're pro-us versus them. The little people involved that are dying. For instance, I want to say that when the day after our last show, I think Israel sent in like 100,000 soldiers or something, and just started taking. No,
they haven't even really gone in yet.
I thought I heard something about.
They've been sending in munitions, but they haven't started the land offensive yet.
I don't know where I came up with 100,000, but
wait. They caught up like 330,000 reservists.
Okay, right. Maybe that's what I heard. But a lot of people I'm talking to are like, it's more like this shit's got to end. This is just too bonkers, and they don't seem as concerned with taking a side with Hamas or taking a side with Israel.
Yeah, but Zeus, isn't that the human instinctual thing to do? Like, you're not picking like, you're basically, you don't put your neck out in any way. You just say, well, I hope things work out. I hope innocent people don't have to. It's like a normal moral neutral.
But
I mean, no, I'm saying, I'm backing you up here on these days. These days, if you come out on one side or the other, and you advance the ball in the future, you could lose a job, you could lose an opportunity. A lot of people are kind of gun shy to make their opinion known, and I don't just mean people who don't ever share their opinion about anything. I mean, like, they don't want to take a side because it's gonna, they don't know who to offend or not. I don't know what pronouns to use. I don't want to offend someone. Like, I think there's a lot of. It's easy to say, I hope no innocent people get hurt. Like, that's obvious.
Well, like, I was gonna add to that, in that I do take a stance of, I don't know what Israel has done. I don't know if they're guilty of atrocities too, which
I'm sure they both are.
I'm sure they are. But what I've said, and this is to Muslim people, is that regardless, I watched a man lying on the ground.
No, Zeus, you weren't talking about yourself. Like, you were talking about people that you've talked to, right?
Right.
That
but I start off the conversation, how do you feel about this? But then I'm like, but Hamas was brutal with this. And I said, and I preface with, I don't know what Israel's doing. They could be doing the same thing. They just not filming it and sending it out to the world. And but this is the interesting thing. They're like, yeah, I get that. Like, they understand that I'm not on either side. I'm for the people in the middle, but I don't like how Hamas got it. And that's a bit more complicated than these conversations usually go, without somebody going fucking ape shit, going, "Oh, you're pro-Israel."
Well, that's the problem. That's the thing is if you like, I don't know. I was talking to my son tonight, and I want to let Mike jump in. He probably has a little. Yeah. I was talking to my son. My son's a college student, right? He goes to a school in Boston, Massachusetts. So we'll just leave it at that. He goes to a really good school in Boston.
Boston College?
No, I'm not saying where he goes to school. I'm just saying
Harvard.
It's not Boston College.
How do you like them apples?
Anyway, so we were talking about the situation, and I said I'm seeing a lot of stuff on the news, demonstrations everywhere else, a lot of statements being put out by the colleges themselves, totally in lockstep with one particular side, which I find interesting. And he said that no one he knows has gone out of their way to claim a position, one or the other, except for two people that he knows who he kind of knew which way they leaned. Like, just based on what little he knew about their ethnicity, he kind of projected a conversation happening, and it happened. And he said it was kind of like I felt about our episode last week. He said it opened his eyes to more about Palestine or the Palestinians than he ever knew. And the stuff about Israel, he already knew, kind of. And he said, based on the conversation, he goes, because I found myself playing Pat Buchanan. He didn't use that reference. Not Pat Buchanan. You know what I'm talking about, Mike. The
Kissinger?
No, the guy who had the show where he'd fire.
Oh, God. Firing line or McLaughlin, not McLaughlin.
Yeah, I think it was McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Yeah. What say you?
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah. So he found himself learning from both sides. And he said that, and I said, well, it could be a discredit to the guy who was on the Israeli side, because maybe he didn't have as much, because the guy on the Palestinian side kept pulling out his phone and referencing all of these stories about Jewish people and Caucasian people beating up Muslims all over the United States since the attack happened. And I said, I'm not hearing a whole lot of that.
I'm not hearing any of that.
You know, I heard the one crazy guy in Illinois who stabbed a Palestinian child. Right. And I think
What?
Yeah, he killed him.
He was good.
But apparently there's a rampage of angry Jews going around America, just like, mutilating Palestinians, which I told Jacob, I said, I find that hard to believe, because the media I watch would have covered it. But anyway, so he said that most people he's found that have expressed an opinion have been more sympathetic to Palestine. I said, that's what I'm seeing in the news. But he said most people are staying out of it. And he said, Dad, no one wants to have something come back and bite them on the ass. We all heard about that banker chick, right? So they knew about that. And I think what Zeus is talking about is a natural fear.
But here's the thing.
I don't think people want to come out on either side. And people definitely don't want to come out the way they did for Ukraine. And I touched on that last week. They just don't. Or
maybe they actually do. They are just weary of all this politicizing of religion and everything else in the world. Maybe people are just getting tired, and maybe Dana's talking about how out of something ugly births something better. Maybe people are finally growing weary of all this. I gotta hate you to get my opinion about. And maybe
you're right.
Like I said, the conversation that I had, if it had just been how do you feel about it, sure, go ahead and just say the safe thing. But I went further, and I didn't say anything horrible. You can't argue that what Hamas did was horrible. And I prefaced with I don't know what Israel's done. Show me that Israel's done things. Let me see.
And then apparently there's a lot out there, and I'm sure there is.
But that's a complex conversation for people that I'm working with. And I find that heartening that I can have these conversations now and nobody's going ape shit. I think it's a good thing. Now,
Well,
2 weeks from now, something
we're
horrible
here.
happens. But I find it interesting. That's all.
All right.
Hey, Tom.
Hey,
Mike, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean,
Tom's
yeah,
ready.
He just jumped right in.
Hey,
have you had a chance to go yet, Mike?
No, I like how
We just started.
Mike and Tom are wearing their army fatigues.
This is a
We're in a
REM
war, man.
shirt. It's an REM shirt. It's just that color.
That
But
Mike in the corner.
yeah. No, I mean, from last week, my attitude hasn't really changed that much, but I always find it interesting seeing how things are discussed and talked about. And again, we've talked about this before, but we are now reaping the distrust in the horrible media that we have now, because I just don't believe anything that they say. And they are hitting the same points they've always hit with the Gaza Strip, West Bank, Israel situation going back my entire lifetime. Like, it's a rehash of the greatest hits, right? This new thing they have now, that Israel is perpetrating collective punishment against Gaza, right? So there's this desire on the part of a lot of people to separate people that live in Gaza Strip from Hamas. Like, in other words, it's almost like, man, I'm just living here, and this crazy dude lives upstairs, and he's sending rockets over to Israel. I don't know what his fucking problem is, but that's what they're trying to make it seem, and it is not that. Again, Hamas was they were elected, okay? Back in 2005, when Israel pulled out of Gaza, they pulled everyone. They moved 10,000 Israelis out of Gaza. They took the IDF out of Gaza. Like, they're like, here, you guys have it, And the world community gave
it's not like they weren't giving out
dollars
front property. They were that's, if you're going to live in Israel or the Gaza Strip, that Gaza Strip's a nice.
It was a cultivated place. It had infrastructure. It was not a hellhole. Yeah. Anyway, the world community gave hundreds of millions of dollars to Hamas, as the ruling authority there, and they took the money and dug, miles of tunnels and fortifications and weapons, and they didn't build a community because they're not interested in building a community. The people who are running Hamas, for the most part, live in Qatar. They don't even go to Gaza. This is such a shell game going on. It's like remote leadership. Because it's not about having a nice society and community. It's about the destruction of Israel. It's about the destruction of Israel. That's right. Because
why else? Yeah, why else pour all the resources and the supplies and the actual materials? Like, they sent them like sewage. They sent sewage piping, and there was like a Vice report. And they were turning the piping into rockets,
into rocket launchers. And again, not to totally rehash that, but I'm just saying, to me, when the thing that's amazing is, Hamas goes into southern Israel and slaughters like 1,300 people. And in our country and in the Western world, you immediately have people like, whoa, ceasefire. We don't want to have any, we don't want to cause any additional violence. Right. And I get that. And to me, it almost, I don't think people have to say like, I'm against killing innocent civilians. It's like, I hope so. I mean, that's like walking around and like, I breathe oxygen. It's like, I would. And
you guys can quote me on this. Duh.
You don't get a gold star, right, for being a politician, being like, I'm really against slaughtering innocent civilians. Speaking it's like, okay, I assumed that, right? If you move on from that point, then it becomes, what does Israel have the right to do? They just had people come in, slaughter 1,300 of their citizens.
No, Mike. The word is invaded. They invaded their country.
They invaded, and again, and I'm not the one that came up with this little thought process, and I'll jump off after this. But let's look at World War II. Let's look at Japan when they bombed Pearl Harbor, right? Were we running around saying like, well, we're just going to go over and bomb a Japanese port, and because we want to
it's not an eye for an eye.
We want to keep it proportional, right? And then other people said like, so should Israel go into Gaza and just slaughter innocent people? Like, is that proportional? Like, what are we talking about? This is an existential threat to Israel. They are, and the surrounding countries from Egypt to Jordan, and Jordan's only like 100 years old. Jordan was formed in the same time that Israel was formed. And you've got Lebanon and Syria, and then you've got Iran hiding behind Syria. There's a lot of pressure on Israel. Israel's like this little sliver of land, and everyone's like, well, you guys just need to relax.
Are you guys familiar with
I just think that's nuts. But I'm sorry,
are you guys familiar with PragerU at all?
Yeah. David Prager. Yeah,
very very Jewish, by the way. Dennis Prager is an Orthodox Jew.
But here's the interesting thing. I saw something on, I want to say it was PragerU, and they were interviewing all these Palestinians that lived in Israel, and they were like, I love it here. It's great. I don't feel, put upon. I can go to the market.
Right.
Like, I found that very interesting.
We talked about that last week. Is that why there's not apartheid? Because you got all these people living in Israel.
They're happy. But then I saw another one. I also believe was PragerU, where they were asking this Palestinian from, I don't know, West Bank, Gaza, wherever, about homosexuality, and it was really dark. He was like, they should all die. And then the guy's like, well, what about if somebody murders somebody? Would you rather have a murderer walking the streets or a gay person? And they're like, murderer every day, all day long. And I just found it's intriguing that both of these came from the same source, and they both paint different views.
The religious devout views run deep in certain Arabic countries and societies. Like, if it's Sharia law and you're born and raised into that hardcore, and that's to the point where you're willing to kill the fucking Jews, and you gladly do that, like, you're going to at least accept the fact that, oh yeah, homosexuality is a sin against Allah. And, that's already been reported in many countries. We all know about that. We know about subjugated rights of women. Like, their religion's just different from ours. Like, we got to get past that at this point. Like, it just is, you know what I mean? Like, and that's not hey, if you want to believe that, as long as you're not hurting other people, practice, whatever. But in those countries, they can hurt other people for those things.
It's insane. And
and by the way, Gaza chose that. Like Mike said, they elected Hamas. That was their own process. Now, you could question that election, quote unquote.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
say. What political opponents, just didn't make it? You know what I mean? They got taken out. Like, I don't know enough about the history of the Hamas government and how that rose to power. So I can't say 2 million people walked to the ballots with their IDs and voted for those guys. Like, I don't know that much. But all I know is there was never a revolution out of the Gaza to have a democratic system. Like, I mean, they had the numbers. They have, revolutions always have a way of turning into more than just a conversation if there's enough people behind it. And that didn't happen in Gaza. Like, Hamas they ran the place. They did this. You got to call it an invasion into a country. And now there's retaliation. And like Mike said, this has been going on. I mean, when we wanted to beat Germany, when the English and the Americans wanted to defeat Germany, they bombed the hell out of Berlin, Dresden, I mean, whatever, like, because London got bombed. Because Pearl Harbor got bombed. Like, this is the way of war.
So it sucks.
It's terrible. It's
here's
terrible.
The conundrum, though. You're talking about the gays. So the biggest supporters, and this, I don't know if it's too early in the conversation for me to go this direction, but
it's probably time. we can talk about last week. We already did talk
if you're ready for this, but so the biggest supporters of the Palestinian movement here in the U.S., you'll see them protesting in New York. It's the LGBTQ group, Black Lives Matter.
Oh yeah,
those Antifa, the far leftists are the ones.
But is that they're pro Hamas or more that they're anti-Israel?
Forget about that. That's not what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Why are they even supporting Palestine extremist, fundamentalist, Islamist who want, if they encounter a gay person in Gaza, they throw them off the roof?
Right.
But these LGBTQ people, they're walking hand in hand with these Islamists in New York City or Los Angeles. What is the connection? And I know
if
what
I may,
it is, or I'll throw it out. Mike knows what it is. What's the connection between these groups? Zeus, what do you think?
Well, I was actually going to go, maybe I don't know the group, but I'm going kind of with what Mike was talking about, how all these people that are running Gaza living in Qatar. I'm not saying that like BLM, LGBTQ, they're all, again, kind of remotely handled by people living in Brentwood, California. And just
Brentwood's a nice place.
It is. It is.
OJ,
but I think that's where the two the lesbian couple that was in charge of BLM for a while, that's where they were living. So again, man, it's people that don't have anything BLM to couple that was worry about running the show.
What was the BLM
but who's
couple?
The group? Please enlighten us.
They were communists, right?
Marxists.
Yeah, no, they were self-professed Marxists at, I think, Berkeley College, right? University.
Leader of the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, Yasser Arafat.
Yeah, it's
unapologetic communist. A lot of these Hamas guys, they would go to school in Moscow. That's the connection. They all have this sort of socialist, Marxist ideology.
Oppressed, oppressor.
It's all about the tearing down the colonialism, tearing down America, tearing down the West. And that's why the LGBTQs are in bed with the radical Islamists. You would think they should never be in the same picture.
Yeah, strange bedfellows.
But they both hate the West.
It was a drunken
they
night.
Hate America. They hate capitalism. They hate Christianity. All these things they want to burn and destroy, and that's why they're together, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah,
maybe they'll wake up with their beer goggles on one morning and just be like, shit, what was I doing?
No, you're absolutely dead.
I was in college. I didn't even know then.
Oh, you were a lot better looking last night.
Well, I mean, the one thing
is that thing you said about hating Coyote people on that night, I'm gonna leave.
No, Tom, you're totally right. We've talked about it on the text thread. It's just a culture of anti-culture. Anything that's traditional, which
Did you
could
sniff
call
a marker?
I want to know what this thing was.
Wow.
But it doesn't smell like anything.
Wow,
what is it say?
I'm sorry.
This is what we're doing. I'm listening.
Are
we boring you, Mike?
It's the wrong day. Start sniffing glue.
I didn't even catch it.
I wanted to see if I could write something. I wanted to put a permanent marker on the speaker. It's a long story.
Is that a paint pen?
You can distinguish whether it's permanent or temporary based on.
Yes. We got to figure out what Mike was
saying. It's liquid chalk.
Okay, so what you got to do is you got to press the pin down and then for like 30 seconds and then smell it.
But I thought if it was stinky, that means it's the good stuff that's
but
like
it's
permanent.
not stinky until you push the tip down because the
paint
doesn't come out.
Des has done this before.
I have one of those pins and it
doesn't smell like anything. Okay,
sorry. Push the tip. Did you push the tip down?
Yeah, that was not
a little bit
30
longer.
seconds.
Shake it up.
Mike, did you just touch the tip to your nose or
You guys, Mike, take the black marker and press it down
right
under your nose.
I gotta
until you get like a little black mustache.
Oh, great.
Yeah, now I've got white here.
We have these markers.
That'd be
I don't know
funny if
where.
What is that over
smelling it.
there? What is that? What is that over
Oh,
there?
quick, save the screenshot.
Okay.
Screenshot.
We
So-
got this.
10 miles.
Hold on, wait a second. So just another the quick tangent. So we had this pack of markers like Mr. Scent markers at work. I don't know where they came from.
Mr. Scent.
Mr. Scent. Yeah, that's a
Nice.
long time ago.
Mr. Scent.
So and they all
I
smell,
remember
you
those.
know, like things. But it doesn't say on the fucking like it says on the box like what scents are in the box, but it doesn't say on the marker what the scent is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there were
Bad
some
news.
scents that were like, listen, this could be this could be this.
Armpit.
We
yeah.
don't know. So there was like I mean, it's still today we still have them now, and all the time we're just like, do you think that really smells like mint? Because I don't. That's not that. That's not mint. That's not it. But
You guys got too much time
and
on
we
your
got
hands.
like fucking markers under our
Marker
nose.
on your nose.
Yeah.
Well, just I mean, to Tom's point, I 100% agree with that framing of it, Tom. And the thing is that this whole situation, the thing that kind of freaks me out a week into it, another week into it, is this is really setting up to be a potentially very bad situation, because it is everyone is showing their cards now, right? It's like you're playing, everyone's keeping everything close to the vest. Well, everyone's getting called out now, and you know, and I'm talking geopolitically. So you've got, you know, Qatar, which pretends to be kind of neutral. They're really not. They've been like funding a lot of things. Hamas has been funding things here in the US and politicians here in the US. You've got Russia that's sticking its head in this. You've got China that's looking at it. You got India that's like sticking their head in this. You've got Jordan that's like, man, we don't want to be here right now. You've got Lebanon with Hezbollah. You've got Egypt that's not opening up the gate to let people in. I mean, all these people that are like, man, Israel hates the Arabs. It's like, well, all these Arab states around Gaza aren't letting them in either. And in fact, the last time Jordan let in a lot of Palestinians from the West Bank, they almost had the country overtaken. This was like the previous king, the one before this one. The Palestinians in there almost completely took over the country. They had to kick them back out. That's why they're in the West Bank.
So I went back and did some research. And so the original mandate of Palestine from like the 1920s, which was supposedly the Jewish homeland, they were going to set it up kind of like what they did in 1948. But the original, that Palestine, it included Jordan and the current day Israel, right? So Jordan is basically part of this quote unquote Palestinian
Arab section
homeland that they think that they have. So why is that bad for the Palestinians to go into Jordan? And what do you mean taking? I mean, wasn't it originally part of the mandate of Palestine?
That might be more of a socioeconomic thing. Like they don't want to feed more people. I mean, you feel where I'm going with that?
Why not? That's their land. But the Palestinians' land.
My whole
it
thing
just got chopped off, and that half became Jordan, and the other half became Israel.
My whole thing
the more we get into this, I can see it. I don't support what they're doing, but I'm starting to see why they could be a little. Their asses could be a little chapped with their lands.
Yeah, but it's not Israel.
But it wasn't their land.
Point. Fair enough, but
it's called Mandate of Palestine.
I'm
but
not
it goes
saying,
back to the Romans.
I'm not saying it's reasonable,
Palestina.
But what I'm saying is that I can understand that they feel displaced.
I think it's all. I don't want to say hoax, but it's all bullshit because. I don't think it was really their land.
No,
and they could live in Jordan. They could go anywhere else. They don't really have that much of a tie to this particular land.
We don't live there. We don't have.
Well, isn't it a matter who
Florida
got there
being cut off, and that's now another place? You know what I mean? We're not dealing.
Yeah, it's like they're there now, and the water cut off and all that. But
to really understand, we would have to be there. We would have to live amongst them. We would have to see what they're going through.
No, it honestly depends on what culture. Mike and I were talking about this. It depends on what culture you grew up on, and the cultures are both based on religion. There's a reason why they both claim some sort of spiritual fealty to this region. I mean, it goes back a long time, and it stems from some now because you could say who claimed this land first. You could play the DNA genetics, how far back do we go game, as long as you want. They both seem to find this place important. I mean, Israel religious I mean they could have been like, okay, we'll go somewhere else. Literally everyone around here hates us and they want to kill us, but no, we're staying. Why are they staying? And then as far as Palestine goes, I mean, is it all territorial for them, or does this place have something to do with their basis of faith? I mean, it's gotta go back to that, because otherwise, if it's just land, wouldn't they figure it out?
The people who live in Gaza Strip and also West Bank are propagandized constantly. They are raised to view Israelis as incredibly evil people that want to kill them. I mean,
yeah, but
again,
Mike, is that faith-based though? Is that religious in nature?
I get your point. And
you know what? I think at this point it doesn't. I don't think it matters.
No, it does matter, because if their book of faith says kill the Jews.
No, I don't think so.
It's secular.
The book of faith doesn't say kill the Jews. The Hamas says kill the Jews.
Hamas says. Yeah. And I don't, to answer your question, Jack, I don't know. That's the truth, but I don't, this is not, and I know religion has a part of it, and that may be what got this whole thing started, but it's just a full hate on right now. I mean, that's, that's what it is. Yeah. No one's consulting with, priests and holy books.
Iran, you know how we do the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning at schools?
Do we still? I thought we stopped.
Their kids do a pledge, but it says, I pledge allegiance to Iran and death to America. They repeat that every single morning.
Right.
I mean, that's secular.
Well, yeah. I mean,
you can't say that's not a part of it.
There's a psychological aspect to that, in that they say the best way to learn things is to write it, read it, say it, see it. The more you do that, it just even if it's not in your core belief structure.
You do that to kids, you're fucking them up for their whole life.
Yeah, we got to do another Bezmenov episode. I feel like we're living in his story.
I mean, again, not to jump back to the media, but it is. I mean, the fact that we cannot trust. And I mean, I don't. I mean, I just don't think anyone who pays attention has any trust in the media. And this thing that happened yesterday is a perfect example of how dangerous this is. So this hospital gets leveled, right, by some munitions, and it's reported that it's from an IDF strike. IDF comes out hours later and no, this was some rockets that were misfired by the Islamic Jihad, which is yet another group, not Hamas, from within Gaza itself, that they accidentally struck this hospital. But no one's it's like Israel's releasing videos. I was just looking even before we just came on, showing these rockets and trying to say look, we didn't do this. And whether they did or didn't, the news media isn't interested in trying to find out the truth. If you went to CNN this afternoon, it was is IDF bombs hospital in Gaza and kills 500 people. I'm it's a declarative statement, and they don't know, right? And that is already, I'm sure there's probably people who've already been murdered because of this, right? And there's no search for truth. That is gone. Everything is everyone's on a hair trigger. That's what freaks me out about this situation, because now it's not just Israel and Gaza. You've got 2 aircraft carrier strike groups in the Eastern Mediterranean. You've got China and Russia looking at it. You've got everyone. It's it's turning into the final scene in Reservoir Dogs, right? Where everyone's got a gun on each other. I mean, that's literally
stop pointing that gun.
What's happening? That's what's happening right now.
Yeah, and I worry about Hezbollah right now. I worry about what's going to set those fuckers off, because if Israel gets invaded from their northern border, I mean, It's on.
Well,
on
yeah,
they're involved already, aren't
no,
they?
hold on. What is
no, they're
Hezbollah?
involved.
No, they fired
No,
missiles the first day.
Tom, they're involved. But if it gets, they have like 200,000
they haven't gone
rockets,
all
supposedly.
in.
So, Desiree, Hezbollah is to Lebanon as Hamas is to
I understand that, but what I'm
Gaza.
saying is like, what is Hezbollah and Hamas like? Are they on the same viewpoint or are they completely opposite? Like one's
I'm sure they hate each other.
They both hate Israel, but one is Sunni and one's Shia.
Okay, that's
so they hate each other too.
But the thing is,
can't fight a war on two fronts.
Iran, this was like 4 days ago, said, "Hey, Israel, if you go in with land forces into Gaza, we're going to be getting involved with this." And then the U.S. was like, "No, Iran, if you get involved with this, you better not." And here's another danger, not to beat on Joe Biden, but this is the danger of having such a weak leader who no one believes, right? Is because he's like, "I have one word for Iran, don't do it." Like,
that's
or
3
what?
words.
Or
that's 3 words.
It's 3. Well, he said don't. But my whole thing is like, it's so cringeworthy because it's like, or what, Joe? Like, what exactly are you going to do? It's like Obama would draw lines in the sand and then just ignore him. I mean, Biden's such a pushover.
Well, you asked who's actually calling the shots, so we've already covered that. He's
like,
podcast.
Iran, don't do it, or else I'll come back and say, don't do it again.
Yeah, it's just a danger. We're in a dangerous situation right now, and that's not even. We didn't even talk about our own border. People coming across there.
Well, I heard one theory, and I don't know what you think, but I heard one theory that this whole thing with Hamas, this incursion at the behest of Iran, was to blow up the Israel-Saudi Arabia deal. That they were coming to some kind of an agreement, and that was going to fuck Iran in some way. And they said, okay, make something happen. And even Iran and even the Hamas leadership in Qatar did not foresee that it would be this successful, that they would breach the wall, that they would slaughter 1,400 people, right? And that went beyond what they were looking to do. And now that it's beyond, Iran is shitting its pants too, because they know they're at the, they fund all of this shit, and they're afraid of what these crazy fucks are going to do next. Did they already kill the hostages? Are they going to, if they're invaded? And then is Hezbollah, like, their leash is being pulled back now, and so Iran says theirs is too, if Israel should invade Gaza. And my thing is, if they think the hostages are alive, right? And if we, the United States, think that American hostages are alive, how are we not sending Chuck Norris and Delta Force into Gaza?
Yeah, that's the big question I have. Like, I remember, I'm old enough to remember a time that when there was if there was some American that was being held somewhere, like, Chuck Norris and the Delta Force would show up. And then starting in Afghanistan, we just pulled out and left all these people there and allies. Like, that's new. Like, that didn't used to happen. I mean, people would go back. I mean, Saving Private Ryan, you'd send like a whole patrol out to look for one guy. I mean, that was kind of the attitude. And now it's like 20 Americans in Gaza being held. It's like, nothing's happening. Like, what is going on exactly? I mean, that's my question.
Not all together.
I don't want to get
spread out like all.
Yeah, no, that's why I don't know what we're gonna do other than Hamas is gonna have demands. I assume, if they haven't, or maybe you guys know they've already
died already.
I think they're all going to end up dying. I mean, who releases after all this?
I
They're
don't
going
think
to release them.
any demands.
Their only demand is they want warning of incoming. That's all they want.
They've been getting that, I think.
So far.
So
I had to just laugh at that. Would have been like,
I know.
Yeah, right.
Has anybody seen this little video clip of AOC crying because they decided not to defund the Iron Curtain, like Congress, I guess.
AOC.
Huh? Yeah, that's
the Iron Dome.
I don't even know her name. She just makes me sick.
No, what's AOC?
No, AOC's
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
No, AOC's most recent gaffe is when she pled to Israel to practice restraint, because that's what the dead Israelis would want. They wouldn't want more innocent people to
that.
Like, she actually, well, you can find her little video, unless she deleted it. She channeled the dead Israelis.
Wow, man.
Yeah, and
She
they wouldn't
is
want. Yeah,
such a piece of garbage.
I just think she's dumb.
Yeah, I think it's more
absolutely.
ignorance than.
I think she's dumb and she's missed. I think she went to college, you know. I mean, she's part of that generation, and
So did I. Look how smart I am. No, she makes all the choices that I can't fathom why she made those choices.
Well, she's in with the squad, man. She's in the same. She's hanging out in the same fucking sorority. It's the same. That's it.
Yeah, I have the feeling she's doing DP videos with freaking whoever. She's a piece of garbage.
I mean,
she just is.
I mean, in the background of all this going on, you've got Iran that is, if they're not already there, they're pretty darn close to having enough enriched uranium. And like we said before on the earlier podcast, no way Israel is going to let that happen. It's just not going to let it happen.
No, Mike, we shouldn't let that happen. We
shouldn't let it happen.
No, we keep giving them billions of dollars to develop the program. I mean, Jesus
absolutely.
Christ.
I know we shouldn't be letting it happen, but I know Israel won't.
I think we really need. I'm going to keep working on it, but we really need to get Lena back on. This would be a great time to have.
I would love to hear her perspective on that.
Yeah, so would I. Would I.
She's very eloquent. I think she'd have a lot to say.
But she's not Palestinian.
She's Iranian.
She's Iranian.
Okay.
But pro-America, like you read about, like pretty hardcore.
I'd be curious to see what she has to say as well. But that's on Zeus. He's got her contact, and she doesn't take my calls.
I'm gonna have to get the Rogan guys on this one. I think.
Yeah.
Let me walk down the hall.
It is interesting though, like in this whole thing of this episode and having it go through the grist mill that is our culture and just how things shake out. And it's been very interesting to me to kind of see the veneer pulled off of a lot of different people. I mean, not so much people I know, but like people in the press, celebrities, other politicians and things like that. Because what this situation really exposes is people who have no concept of what they're talking about. That it really exposes them because they are relying on media and on sort of like little gotcha stuff. And if you dive like another half inch deeper than that, they're just totally lost. They don't have anywhere to go.
I learned more about
this through line.
Yeah, but Mike,
little map last week, like Dez's little presentation on where it was at this time and this time and this time, that was enlightening to me. And the interesting thing is, I think last week was one of our more where we were kind of opposed with each other on certain things.
Yeah, no, but you're right. You're right.
And it is interesting the difference how we're talking about it this week, where I think we've even leveled back a little. We still have our beliefs that certain things were atrocious, but I think we can all agree that the people that are being caught in the middle of all this, and yes, election, blah, blah, blah. I think that election was about as rigged as they get for the Hamas to be in charge.
Who knows?
Yeah, no.
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was.
Okay. I don't think it was rigged. I'll tell you why in a second.
Well, wait. Just to go off on Mike's point here a little bit, Mike. I will say, in defense of the masses for being stupid with opinions and being not quite educated about the Middle East, like that's us too. Like that's none of us.
I'm putting myself in that.
Yeah, no, none of us has the doctorate in this shit. None of us knows the full history. We're all learning as we go. Right. But what I'm shocked about, not the so much. Well, I guess to some extent the whose side do you take, knowing about all this for 10 minutes, the Reader's Digest version of what the history is. Like, we're all guilty of that. And it's easy to pick a side based on the terroristic videos that we saw. In fact, if you don't at least condemn that shit, then I don't know who you are. I mean, because it's it's evil. It's evil. Let me finish my point, though. So we all are in that same boat of not knowing everything about this, but still having an opinion viscerally based on what it is. What I have distrust in now, Mike, to your point that you were making, is the goddamn shit that we talk about all the time, the media. Why am I getting one side only? And all I'm seeing now is sympathy for Palestine, and Israel has to back off, and why all these poor kids got killed. And they're showing like the live journalist video of like the poor suffering people in Palestine, Gaza. But how about all the YouTube videos and the shit that I had to find on social media of the terrorist videos? The major networks didn't air any of that shit. They didn't at all. And they didn't show the videos of the people that followed up the terrorists who were the looters. Like scores of men. There's video now coming out of people going into those houses, walking over dead bodies and rolling out of there on motorbikes, bicycles, stealing television sets. It looks like a flash mob on one of these crime videos that we watch all the time, right? Like you see, like 40 people showed up and raided Nordstrom's. Okay, we see that shit. The media doesn't, and by the way, the media doesn't show that shit either. You got to find that on YouTube as well, or watching any conservative video podcast. I mean, you're not going to see it on CNN, like you're just not, and you're not going to see
not banned on YouTube.
No,
but you
and
can't
you're not
say like trans or anything. You get kicked off of YouTube. So you can put
but
some terrorist shit on there.
Yeah, but I think you know what I'm saying, Mike.
I do, and listen, I was putting myself in that.
No, me too. I know you are
actually.
Mike. I know you are
not putting myself in the category of experts. Putting myself in the category of just I'm mowing my lawn, and next thing I know, this thing's happening. What I'm talking about is in the media and these people who purport to know, the 51 intelligence officials who assured us that the laptop was Russian disinformation, and Michael Hayden, who's the jerk off who still insists it. Anyway, my point is, it's that level, that class of people, who
in other words, the ones being presented to the dumb masses as being experts. I get that. No, you're right, and that's the shame of it, because they're all saying the same shit too.
Yeah, they're all saying the same shit. And it's not enlightening, and everyone is ignoring. At least when I look at these people, they're ignoring this bigger stuff that's now swirling around. These large, the big boys are coming into the picture now. Yeah. And again, this stuff can go sideways really freaking fast.
Wait, and also I wanted to just, because we're gonna obviously roll on with this, but one thing we didn't talk about is there's a congressman who allegedly pulled a fire alarm to disrupt the congressional vote.
Jamal Brown. Yeah.
So he's outspokenly, we
talked about that.
No, we did. No, I'm saying the same guy. The same guy is calling for the United States to free a lot of, a million of these Gazans and take them into the warm bosom of the United States. Like, we're supposed to take in this refugee group as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because Egypt and Jordan have come out on the record as we ain't having that. Like, we're not taking them. Like, we're just not. We're not going to. Yeah.
I'd love it if this guy came out and said, look, I don't want to alarm anybody, but
don't want to cause any alarm.
Right. Yeah,
I don't want to jump the gun.
I think that's going to be the hue and cry on the CNNs and the MSNBCs next, is that before, and by the way, Israel's doing everything it can to fucking warn people, get out of Dodge, and Hamas is blocking the major arteries to allow people to travel. They have satellite photos of trucks blocking roads, cars in line like they're trying to get out of Maui, okay? And they can't get out.
Yeah.
And that's happening. But now we're supposed to force a ceasefire so that America can load up a bunch of B-52s and bring people back here. I mean, that's what this guy is preaching. I just didn't know what you guys thought about that.
Here's my question. What is this distracting us from? What
this is bigger. Action? This is no. I mean, this is beyond a distraction. This is out of our control.
All right.
This is out of anybody's control. These 2,000 jackoffs got into that country and they did what they did.
Yeah.
That's not. I think that's purely.
I mean, you talk about us not knowing the full story and the history, and Even the people that live there, the Israelis and the people in Gaza, they have such a warped view of each other and their own histories. They don't even know the real story.
And I really get a vibe that they are like, you remember that, I think it was in Time Life, the cover with the guy that's shell shocked and he's just got the 1,000. You guys know the picture?
No.
Well, we know the 1,000.
It's this soldier like World War II, and he's got this like crazy grin, and his eyes are bulging. And I feel like all these people, both sides, they're living in this tumultuous environment. Well, I talked about this last week. I sympathize with the people. Like, I can understand why they could go full on hate, because all they know is that side's doing it, and they never have any time to breathe and stop and think about these things. They're just constantly under duress from it. It's got to cause a sociological state of constant fear and anger, which we here are quite insulated from. I mean, our biggest problems are really, in comparison, not that big a problem.
And how much do the people in Gaza know? I mean, do they have like a free media, free press? No. Are they getting the full story?
Probably not. It's ran by Hamas.
No, they're getting there's videos of clips from their TV being leaked out on YouTube now too. It's all kill the Jews, hate the Jews.
As far as they know, they've only been the victim. Like no attack ever happened last week.
There's people in the US that deny it. Yeah, there's people that I've seen on TV that denied the attack happened.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
There was someone on NPR trying to deny that it happened.
Wow.
A few days ago. I mean, to NPR's credit,
I'll come back in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, to NPR's credit, they did push back on them, but they're still, it's crazy. I mean, and like what Zeus was saying, I can't even. I mean, there's people walking around like zombies in southern Israel, in Gaza. I mean, people lose their entire family and they're walking. I mean, they're not like seeking revenge. I mean, I'm sure some are, but I'm sure some people are just walking around like catatonic, like not even able to speak. I mean, it's got to be horrible.
Did you see that one video of the father? He found out that his young daughter, I guess she was like 10 or 11 or 12, and he found out that she had died. She was killed.
Oh, I
did. And he was so happy. He was like, "Thank God she's dead," because if she had been just a what do you call it? Prisoner, hostage, it would be far worse, and you would never know whatever happened, and just like she would live her whole life just being tortured.
Yeah.
And he was like crying in tears, but he was like, "Thank God she's dead." He was happy about that. It was so.
And you can understand it. I mean, it's crazy, but you could totally empathize with the guy too in a weird way. Yeah, it is so freaking horrible, man. I mean, we can't, the prophet Rodney King, right? Didn't he say it? The best.
Can't we all just get along?
Can't we all just get along, man?
No,
we can't.
No, we can't.
I think we covered that last week. They don't want to get along.
Yeah, they don't want to get along. Yeah, I was trying to explain this to Dana the other night. I'm like, we're talking about theology and territory and where it comes from and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, and I reiterated my point that this comes from religion. And I said, fundamentalists now, right? Let's just go fucking pure deep. And you don't know how many millions that is. And I was like, you have three major religions that run the world, really, that came out of the same region around the same time. Two of them worship the same God. Well, they all worship the same one God, and they all came from a world where it was polytheistic and it was fucking, everybody, there's a God of thunder, there's a God of this, right? These guys all agreed one God and there's prophets, and we go from there. And I said, the problem is two of those, and they're all down there. They're all in that region. They all have traditional ties, whatever. Jesus was Jewish, Nazareth, all that. It's all the same fucking place. And I said, the problem is two of those religions don't necessarily want to kill the other one or each other. And one of them, in their books and in their prophets and in their extreme fundamentalist preachings, think the other two are infidels, and there's glory and martyrdom in wiping them out. I said, and that's pretty much the religious aspect of it. That's just it. Like I don't know how you get around that, and and you can have peace loving this and that, and that's fine. But if you have fundamentalist extremist believers running governments and being in control of machine guns and tanks and missiles,
how do you ever sign a peace treaty?
How do you do that?
I don't think in the Quran there's anything that says death to everyone who's not a Muslim. I don't think it. I've never read it, but I don't think it says that. I think that again, these are just rattleless.
No, but I
scoops.
No, I think that the text is the text, and there are fundamentalist interpretations of it, and it's been practiced that way. It's been practiced that way. You can't be a Christian and live in Gaza openly. You just can't. You're not allowed to.
So don't move there.
But you'd be dead, though. There's a reason why you'd be dead. There's a reason why they think there's 70 fucking virgins in the fucking kingdom if they kill the infidel. That comes from somewhere, and that's all I know.
But
like,
fire alarm guy thinks that the Palestinians would be safe here.
But think about how think about just like fundamental, like radical ass Christians, like the Westboro Baptist Church, FLDS.
Did they kill people who don't believe in them?
The Westboro Baptist Church probably did. I don't know. They killed the fucking doctor, the abortionist. He killed somebody. I mean, that was just one guy, but I mean,
yeah, it was one guy. It wasn't
a
government.
Lot of wars based on religion, Jack.
Tom.
Let's not say.
No, Tom.
Maybe not today, as of today, but
it's 2023, and that's what we're talking about. And two, there have been a lot of wars, and there have been cruelty to people that missionaries were trying to convert.
People at the stake.
The Spanish Inquisition. Like, we can get into all that. There's no faith that's guiltless, just like there's no war that doesn't have atrocities. Like, that's just those
generally.
Right. I mean, you're not talking about millions of people who believe in a fundamentalist form of the law that says, hey, Jews, you can't live here. In fact, you don't believe what we believe, so you're really not supposed to fucking be alive. Like, there's no other faith like that. And then when you have like millions of fundamentalist believers in that, and a lot of them are in that region, how are you ever going to have a treaty? How are you ever going to have a human respect?
Well,
I don't know how you can. That's why I think this doesn't.
Well, it's that whole thing of like, even if it's a small percentage, it's such a huge number. Even a small percentage, you're talking about millions of people. But again, something I'm just thinking about, and I don't know if how accurate this is, but just something. It seems like there's another overlay again to the three major religions that you're talking about, and that is with Judeo-Christian side of it has really is overlaid with like Western culture and the Enlightenment and the rule of law and all these things that came out of Western civilization, whereas the Muslim faith is the countries that it is the majority in tend to be theocracies, authoritarian, that level. So again, just saying in general, there is a difference in how both have kind of like found themselves in 2023. I mean, again, that's very general. I'm sure I know there are Muslim democracies and things like that, but I'm saying in general.
Right. The major players. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you? Where did you get kicked out?
He's in Gaza. He's reporting from Gaza.
I'm reporting from the lines.
Yes.
No, everybody was going
Al
to sleep.
He's got the thing on his
head. I'm strong enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. No, I had to get out of the house, so the rest of this is going to be on the street. But
okay.
I know I joke, and believe me, it is a joke. I do not believe there's an Illuminati, blah blah blah. But I do believe there are a lot of people that are disinterested with us little guys, and they will do whatever it takes at all costs for power. And I just feel like this is the machinations of something to call it sinister would probably be too strong, but indifference towards.
What are we talking about? The invasion or
just in general? I feel like what I'd like to know is what caused, who the people in charge are. Obviously, they're all in Qatar, but there's so many wealthy people that are just getting more wealthy, and they have to. Everybody's hands has to touch this. I'd like to know who on our end has been indifferent or added to the problem because they profit from it, or they benefit one way.
It's the military industrial complex is always going to make money every time there's one of these things going on. Like, we know that.
Yeah.
And we also, I mean, we had Iran on the ropes in the previous administration, you know, and they're about 70 billion to the positive from where they were before. But yeah, I mean, Zeus, I mean, to your point, like with like movements and things like this, and I think this is just my own thoughts on it, but I think in general, when you have these movements, no matter what it is, say you ask like, how did this happen? In any movement, you've got people who are true believers, and those are the people that are like, you know, I would sacrifice my kid to do this because I'm so into, I'm like, you know, blah, 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 blah. You have opportunists that see a movement developing, and they're like, how can I get mine? Right. And they're like, they're grifters. Right. And then there's people that have similar interests that are like, hey, I'm going to align myself with these people because I will get a net positive. There's people that are like, I'm going to support this because those people are against people I hate. My point is, it's not, I know there's a desire, because I have had it too, to think like, who's behind this, or what's the overall reason. I just don't think these things have an overall reason. I think it's this a conglomerate of a lot of different people. And you've got Hamas, they're like the true believers, right? But then you've got the people in Iran and Qatar, these are opportunists, you know, and then everyone kind of like lines up. It's complicated. It's not black and white. It's not A and B. It's not this team versus this team. There's a lot of intersection, a lot of weird stuff behind it. And again, the thing that amazes me thinking about this is, I don't know what we do about it. There's nothing one person's going to do to solve this. This is a mess.
And you gotta think that the people that are behind this, and I'm talking, I hate conspiracy talk, but you gotta know that there are people in every country on every level that support these things, and you gotta think that they've been working on this shit forever, that this is just an end game. Maybe they're not directly involved, maybe they put themselves 6 degrees out, but they're behind it. And it's just like Mike was saying, it's bothersome because I think we're too far behind in the game now. Like, the chess pieces have been put out, and it's going to be checkmate soon, and then we're going to be suffering as I always get them mixed up, the plebeians or the proletariat, the little guys. And proletariat. Dealing with this, proletariat. We're going to be dealing with this for centuries to come, and I don't know how we get out of this.
No.
Why do you say that?
Because Israel's going to whoop the shit out of Gaza.
But I don't know.
Not yet, but.
No, I was going to say we're not going to be dealing with this for centuries, because we're going to be fucking rubble within 100 years if they don't figure this shit out sooner than that.
Yeah.
Could I give you the other shoe to drop?
Yes.
My theories.
Yes.
I don't know if you're ready for this either.
Hold on to your hats.
Okay, so what happened in Israel? So, babies decapitated, and then a week later, people saying, well, yeah, but it's okay because of what they did in 1967.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about that. Now, where's that leading us when you talk about the Marxists, which is the common denominator here, Marxists in America? So let's say, soon to come, before we get to the absolute rubble, Jack, somewhere in between now and then.
You're right.
white baby decapitated, then people say, well, it's okay because of something that happened in 1862.
Right.
That's going to be the spin.
Right.
White people put into concentration camps. You've already had, people saying the Trump supporters, they should be re-educated.
We're educated.
Yeah, there's a lot of terms that are very
think about that and where that's going. It's dark, but I can see that. That's
okay.
We need the Second Amendment. We really do, because without that,
that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. They still have, there's a certain percentage of the population that still
guns in Israel, do they?
No, they still have the guns and the numbers, at least in this country, if that's who you're getting at. But they're slowly chipping away at that to even the playing field. If you even want to go that, harsh and dystopic, I'm hoping it never comes to that in this country, but. The Marxists are here, and who knows what the country's going to look like in 100 years. I don't see how
it's avoidable.
No,
that's what they want. It's kind of like they want death to Israel, but here that's what they want: colonialism,
gone, right?
Traditional American Christian. They want it burnt, destroyed, torn down.
Right.
So what I was going to say to that,
that's like a whole nother episode, but that's fucking
Let that
talk. Go ahead, Des.
So I don't know. Last week, maybe I could be thrown in with that group that says it's okay because they did this or whatever, which let me reclarify. I did not say it was okay to decapitate babies because you said people's land was taken over and you were thrown into whatever group area, whatever, and not allowed to come out. I didn't say it was okay. What I said was, I can understand why they did it or why they want to do it, but I'm not saying it's okay. It sucks, but I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, no, I figured you did. You said something on the text that you wanted to clarify something. I didn't get the sense that you were condoning or the behavior.
This is a sweet angel.
Well, no one. I just don't think. I didn't think you meant that, but that's good. You clarified it anyway. Good for you.
Here's the problem with the world right now. We've gotten lazy with how we deal with dilemma. Like, we no longer.
Zeus, where are you?
Yeah, where are you?
And where are you thinking? Like, what are you talking about?
Let me finish.
You're just in a shed. No, you look like you're in prison.
You're in like the Unabomber
in the lobby of his
marriage. No, what I was saying.
Are your pants unzipped right now? That's what we're trying to figure out.
Yes, they are. No, what I was getting at is that we no longer get into the intricacies of situations. We just paint with broad strokes. This bad, this good.
Yeah.
We're no longer looking at the infinite possibilities that may be involved in trying to find a real solution. We can sure as fuck find a problem every day of the week, but nobody wants to really sit down and find solutions. They throw out keywords, sustainable environment, blah, blah, blah. And all this shit that really means nothing, And so that's what I was getting at. Is like we're actually talking in broad strokes. I think we do get a little bit more into the intricacies, but at the end of the day, nobody really wants to sit down and solve the problems. And the problem with that is that the problems are becoming bigger and bigger, and we're not solving any of the old problems. We're just moving on to the new ones and painting with broad strokes again. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. I
don't know where you're going with that.
Well, no, but it's a good point, though, Zeus. We don't, for people who maybe new, I'm saying we don't present ourselves as like subject matter experts on stuff. There's certain things that come up. It's rare where one of us really knows something, but in general, we're just like four regular people and a undercover CIA agent that has a Foz podcast.
We don't know shit about fucking.
Don't forget that we're yakking.
And we're yakking, and we're just trying to do the best we can here. So it's, that's the intent. I'm not trying to come at a long time ago I was like, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I don't
want to solve the world's problems, but I'd like to solve one.
Well, yeah.
This one.
To me, I feel like there has to be pushback on the narratives that were told about stuff, because it's not just an imagination. They've been proven wrong. And it's like, and again, you just take this new situation, or these events in Israel, and it's just more grist for the mill, and it's so infuriating because this is so serious, and yet it's the new thing being played through the old machine again, this week.
1933 Germany. I mean, you can sit back. They're not going to go that far. It's not going to be that bad.
Right.
I'm not going to rock the boat, risk my job.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. No, you're right, Tom. I mean, we're still human beings. We think that we've evolved to this point where it's like this stuff doesn't
evolution going on.
I mean, like I said, we're 48 hours. I mean, 3 days without food, and I'm eating Zeus's ankles or something. You know what I mean? Like it could go horrible. Like very. You never know.
Let's talk about like where it's gonna go. So listen, follow this ball. Okay, so unlike you guys, I don't think, or unlike Zeus, I don't think that the election was rigged. I think that it was more of a influence. I don't even know what the word. I mean, Israel left the Gaza Strip, and they came in and they built hospitals, they built schools, they built grocery stores, they built homes. Hamas did. I mean, they're the ones initially. So they probably changed their like, they saw that maybe their true colors once they probably did vote for them. Yeah, these people are great. Look at them. Look at this group. Yeah, wonderful. Mm-hmm. And then like it changed, like the switch flipped or something after. But I mean, since that time, these people have probably been, like you guys were talking about the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, there's probably been a lot of like, I don't want to say propaganda, maybe that's the word, but a lot of influence. Influence towards the people of Gaza, the people that live there. Mm-hmm. So I can't. The other thing about it is there a lot of innocent people there? I don't know. To be honest, I can't. I don't think that there was like this group of 20 people that's Hamas doing all this shit, and then the other 2 million people in Gaza are just these innocent, people. Right. I mean, how many parasellers was there?
Yeah, there's a lot.
What?
There's a lot of those. They had to get them from somewhere.
No, so I think the total. I think the invasion was at least a couple of thousand people, right?
Yeah.
Like
so there was like quite a bit. Army. So I mean, if you think about like, okay, there's got to be a reason why the Israeli government has said, if you live in like. This is maybe going back to the apartheid thing, but we're not going to talk about that. But there is, the 4 areas within Israel that are Palestinian occupied, you cannot move. Like you can move from the West Bank to Gaza or the Golan Heights to Gaza if you want to, but if you live in Gaza, you can't go to the West Bank. You can't move there. Like that's not allowed by the Israeli government. There has to be a reason for that. And it's not. It can't just be because you're Gaza and that's the West Bank. It's probably has something to do with they don't trust you.
They don't trust them.
You have nefarious thoughts.
They don't trust them. If we had a closed border, we wouldn't let everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry, in our country either to get to the other side.
They could leave a breadcrumb trail of IEDs as they're traveling from the West Bank to Gaza, or vice versa.
No, or they could just do something while they're here. I mean, if you don't,
or they can influence all the recruit more. Like you got to think, Hamas has probably been recruiting a very large majority of the Gazanians.
Oh, sure.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Israel having a border that's enforced and saying, we got to vet you before we let you in our country. Like that would be a good thing.
Well, yeah, but now that everyone's like, oh, okay, well, what do we do with all these like innocent people that are stuck in Gaza?
Yeah, maybe
are they innocent?
Right. Well, there's children.
I mean, if
there's
you're 10
women
years
and
old,
children.
maybe
there,
okay, maybe. But how many times have you seen a child suicide bomber? I mean, I get why.
Yeah, no, I get it too. No, they have little Hitler youth camps supposedly over there. There's video of the trainings and all that shit too. They start drilling this shit in their heads very young.
Yeah, and who's to say it's not all 2 million people?
Well, that's a good.
I'm going to say that it's not all 2 million people.
I think that your viewpoint is a little bit more hearted than mine.
I think people are inherently good. And if you're indoctrinated, and again, back to that whole thing about you got to read it, write it, see it, say it. if that's what's being put upon them, then that's
Look,
what they're going to believe. They
well,
don't
not
have
only
anything
that-
else
Well,
to
yeah.
believe.
Not only that, Des, but after all the shit that's gone on between Israel and that region, before they said, okay, you can have it, and we'll even help you fund it, Israel has the right to say, but now you're not coming in. They have the right to say that. This is who else is doing that? Egypt is doing that.
Yeah, well,
Egypt could open their doors and say, okay, we got to help these fellow
They share a border
Yeah,
with
but they don't
Gaza,
want
right?
to because they don't want to
Yeah,
have
they
anything
do.
to do with
It
them because
does.
they want to stay
the
out.
influence the Muslim
No,
Brotherhood and the Hamas is like, they're in bed together, so they don't want them fucking coming.
They don't want them
either.
in there.
Can I ask
Well,
you a
that's-
question? I don't know if you looked it up, but whatever happened to the Palestinian Liberation Organ in Yasser Arafat? I guess he died.
It just
Was
got
that
a
why
new
there was a
name.
vacuum? Why did they have that election? And what happened to the PLO?
He
Why
took
are
all
they
the
not there?
money. He took all the money and died.
Yeah. Took
In
the money and
between, he
ran.
got a
The
Nobel Peace
organization
Prize.
just evaporated? Or?
Yeah, I don't know if the PLO
Well,
still
and he-
exists.
I thought
No, they're
from what
just
I
a
thought,
new
and
name.
again, I'm
It's
not an
Hamas
expert.
or Hezbollah or something like that. The PLO is just a different name. They're rebranded.
So the PLO is
I don't know.
mainly who I don't want to say governs because they're not governing. They're just, I mean, the leader or the knower of things. I don't know. In the West Bank
Okay. Oh, they're still in
and
the
Golan
West Bank.
Heights.
Yeah, I know, because
Not like
Hamas
to
is
where
not
it
in the
was.
West
Not
Bank,
like to
right?
where it was like
No,
Yasser
they're not.
Arafat, not like that. But I mean, like if you had to,
Which is weird. How are they not in the West Bank?
what are the West Bank?
Hamas.
Because they can't leave. You
can't-
you guys.
But it
can't
can't
gov-
spread
You
through
cannot
like
leave.
text
You cannot
messages or
leave.
anything. How is it not spreading?
You don't have any West Bank friends. Because
Yeah,
you
they're
only
not
know
gov- they
Gaza.
They
can't-
must have
they-
West Bank.
They can't.
If
No,
you
they
live in
can't.
Gaza, you cannot leave. You
I'm sure-
cannot leave.
They
But there's
can't
people in the
govern
West
there.
Bank that want to destroy Israel just the same. So why are they not like
Well,
Not
immediately?
necessarily. Not
No,
necessarily.
What do you mean not
to answer
necessarily?
your question about that, remember Lena was talking about how the communications are like nil from Iran. Like
Oh,
you
look
don't-
at this.
Yeah, where
What?
are you now?
He's drinking a Foster's in the dark.
He's got an oil
Yes, I
can.
am. No, but remember Lena was talking
Yeah.
about how she could only like contact people at certain times and like it was very limited, the communication. I think that's in answer to your question, Tom, about why isn't social media and all those things. I think that they got a lockdown on the communication. And again, very much like this situation, we saw the atrocities because the people that were doing the atrocities sent out the videos.
Right.
So
So they've got
There's a
phones
place
if they're doing that. So they can
yeah,
communicate
but
to each
it
other.
can be
Right,
blocked.
but they're not because they don't.
They
There's
don't
no
want
like
to.
newspaper.
I'm not
There's no
gonna
like
call
Gaza.
Uncle Jerry if he's Westboro Baptist Churchian because I
There's
don't
no like
fucking
Gaza
like you,
Morning
and I know I'll
Press
leave.
And we got to do an
that's
episode
also
on them.
delivered to West Bank.
That's
That's weird. I don't know.
because it's
Yeah,
it's
but they
weird,
might
but
be
that's
going
what I'm
more
telling you.
analog and less digital.
What I'm telling you, what I was trying to convey last week, and kept getting interrupted 100 times because I was wrong apparently about the apartheid. But
Sorry.
that's how it is over there. Like you either live in Gaza, you live in the West Bank, or you live in Golan Heights. That's it. They're not like, a one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all over there. They ain't
Right.
doing
No,
that.
they're completely divisible.
Well, right,
They're
isn't it?
completely
Completely
separate.
divisible.
Wait, Tom, isn't it kind of like rival mobster families in The Godfather, like the Barzinis and the Tatalias? You know what I
But then
mean?
how did they
I mean, I would
coordinate?
probably,
Wait a minute. How
here's
did they
the deal.
coordinate with Lebanon to fire the rockets in from
Again,
Hezbollah?
They
Because
don't.
they wanted to talk to. Listen, okay, go.
I don't think they're
Gaza,
coordinating, but yeah.
Gaza.
Or they just chimed in when they saw
And the
them
West
start to
Bank-
kick
Wait,
off.
I think they're more analog and less digital. I think they do things like old school, like Thief of Baghdad shit, like fucking getting somebody through, delivering a message
SOS.
by pigeon or whatever. Yeah,
Spies.
I think they're
I don't
very
think
covert.
so. I don't think so because Israel would have found that out.
Israel didn't even
Did-
see this coming.
I
And
see.
that's it, and
I have a theory
wait,
about that. I'll shut
think
up.
you're
for a second.
Well,
underestimating
no,
them a little bit.
Des, definitely. But and that maybe you have a theory as to answer my question. Supposedly, like Israel is the size of New Jersey. They have military presence all over the place. Now these guys use cyber attacks. They blew up trucks loaded with explosives. They followed it through with machine guns. They paraglided. They used boats, and they jumped into suburbs, started whacking people. Now supposedly it took, I've heard, up to 6 hours before there was a response, like an earnest
they cut
response
the communications. They did
but
that as well. I mean, this was very coordinated.
No, I understand that, I'm saying that there are communications. All right, let's say I'm Israeli captain at I don't know, Fort Isaac, right? And Fort
Nazareth, we'll call it that.
And Fort Nazareth is under attack. And communication. No, the last communication I get is an explosive. Hey, hey, Captain, there's an explosive. Blah blah blah. The gates. Someone's breaching the gate, and then communications get cut off, or maybe they're cut off before that, and I can't get in touch with Fort Nazareth or anybody in that region. Like maybe their cell phone tower got knocked out. Wouldn't there be some kind of a, hey, somebody go check that out? Like why did it take so long? And that's a curious question for a conspiracy theorist. I mean, like what happened over there? And that should be explored too. Israel's got to be able to figure out, how did something this large of a scale happen under our noses, and it took us this long, to the point where looters showed up and stole television
half a day. Before they even
showed up. So it took half a day before Israel knew that it happened?
That they showed up.
No. If you remember my timeline, they were retaliating with jets, I think 3 hours into it.
Yeah, but nobody
they knew about it, but they didn't have the boots on the ground that fast.
Yeah, but that's got to take some.
Which is weird because boots are on the ground everywhere in that bitch. They're everywhere, not in Gaza, but in Israel.
I don't think it was a conspiracy to let it happen.
No, Tom.
Do you think they let it happen?
No, Tom. Of course I don't. I'm just
I mean, they could have, if they wanted to just raise Gaza.
Well, look,
then they would let this happen.
I hate conspiracies, but 20 years later, I haven't been to a party where somebody hasn't launched the 9/11 conspiracy theory at me. So maybe there was just a shorter shelf life.
That was all thermite paint, by the way.
What?
Thermite paint. I was going back.
I understand, and the government knew about the planes and all that stuff. I mean, so we have our own here too. That's just par for the course, because we're all misinformed by the media, and we're all very suspicious, Mike. That's what we've talked about. Well, that's what it is.
You know what the big question I think is getting answered now, and is what is the culpability of a population for the actions of their leadership,
of its government, right?
So you've got, we were talking about,
culpable for Biden?
This is what I'm getting at. We talk about, in Gaza Strip, are these people culpable? I think there's definitely a lot of culpability. I mean, again, not to use World War II example, but Nazi Germany, it wasn't like it was just the Luftwaffe and the SS, and then like everyone else was just making pretzels and dancing.
I know, because Nazi Germany, I mean, they're like, yeah, fucking Hitler's a crazy ass, but hey,
there's a lot of people
we're saying the same thing too, but I'm not sure people.
There was a certain percentage of the population that was heavy into it. Some were probably like, man, I'm just trying to do my remodeling work. And then in the U.S.,
he tapped into an.
Zeus, you're not allowed to talk unless your microphone is a little bit closer to your mouth.
Yeah, because
and somebody else was talking. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, no, I'm just saying. And then you look at the culpability of us. I mean, you look back. Jack mentioned 9/11. There's people that are like, well, I know all these Americans died, but their government is droning the crap out of us. Like, how much are we culpable for what our government does? And isn't that kind of in the eye of the beholder to a degree? I mean, but precedent as on our planet is definitely that the population has culpability with what the leaders do. I mean, I'm not saying it's been decided, but that's the way it's worked out.
Yeah, but don't you think since the advent of fucking like the media via radio, television, cable, and now your phone, and the inundation of information, that the stuff we say about the media and controlled by the government is more prevalent than ever? Like there is less incentive for a full-fledged uprising because you're constantly educated from PBS in the morning with your kids to the nightly news at night. There's one message being sent out, one point of view, and it's got to be that times 100 in Gaza, where Hamas controls the television and the radio, and maybe
there's a pipeline of information that is limited to what they want to give you, and no more.
Well, right, and I think that that's part of the issue here in this country too, because we talk about it all the time. I mean, again, thank God for Elon Musk, because that shit opened up something that was basically being closed slowly, but being closed.
And once closed.
Yeah.
You know what, man? Not to get off on a tangent, but
the phone, just take it and
he actually has
put it up to
a thought process. I'm sorry, Des.
I don't know where you're going, Zeus.
No. What you said is, thank God for him that he actually has some level of structure that he wants to get information out that is as pure as he can get it and get it to us. Like you're talking about the whole Twitter thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The FBI.
Yeah.
No, thank God for people like him. I love the guy. You can hate him if you want, but the guy.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, thank God he did that, because then Zuckerberg came out and admitted it. Jack Dorsey came out and admitted it. I mean, like, YouTube had to stop banning stuff that talked about election fraud. They had to stop banning stuff that talked about COVID and its origins. Like, things kind of reversed themselves a little bit for us. But
Trump as well, when he got in and exposed the whole Russia
totally,
because we wouldn't have known about that if he hadn't won that election.
Tom, you're totally right. And remember that we were this close to a disinformation board being part of Congress with federal power to decide things. I mean, so things could have gotten bad a lot sooner in terms of any kind of like independent thought. Not that there's much going around now, but I can just imagine what it's like in Israel and in Gaza in terms of like party messaging. It's probably not good.
So to bring this portion of the conversation to like an end. So, okay. So right now, all these people are trapped in Gaza, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
They don't have food. They might have food, but it's going to run out probably soon. They don't have electricity. They don't have running water.
Yeah, because Israel was actually keeping it running for those people, and now they're not.
Yeah, and now
nice of Israel to have been doing that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, it is their country, so they kind of have to provide.
Would Gaza have done that for Israel?
No, it's not.
It's not Gaza's country.
Absolutely not.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't Israel anymore. It was its own country, Des.
No, it's part of Israel.
It's still considered.
Is Israel considered?
Are they sovereign or not?
They aren't sovereign. No, they're not sovereign.
I think it's
like
still
considered.
I think it's kind of like the Indian reservations that they're sovereign nations here, even though they're inside the United States.
Do you think that they have that kind of shit in Israel? Probably not. I mean,
I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out what they are.
Okay, but Cherokee Nation and United States the Cherokee Nation is in the United States.
But
just
they're
because it governs itself.
sovereign nation.
They govern themselves.
Okay.
Anyway,
all right. So Israel was providing the utilities for Gaza, and now they're not. So all right.
And now they're not. So there are all these people. They can't swim out. They can't go to Egypt. They sure the fuck can't go to Israel.
Nope.
And
there's 2 million people.
Right. So what are you saying?
So I think a lot of people are trying to say, like, like that person that was talking about fire alarm dude bringing the people that are over here. Yeah. Jordan doesn't want them. They said no thanks. Egypt said no thanks. Right. So
they have a way out.
Here's the way out.
Israel's asking them to turn over the hostages, and then they'll turn back the water and the electricity and everything will be back on. Just give us back the hostages and we'll go back to where we were before.
That's Hamas.
Okay, but the people can rise up and turn against Hamas under this situation. They're like, look, we're dying here. We're starving. We're thirsty. Give them back the fucking hostages, or you're done here. They could do that.
They could, I guess.
They could.
They could. That's a good. It's good advice.
I'd like to touch on something that Desiree just said, and I find it very interesting. Is so we with us, because we definitely did atrocities towards the Native Americans, like inarguable. We smallpox and the cheese. But here's the interesting thing. Why are they not? Because we give them casinos, we give them massive amounts of money.
I don't think we give
that
them
they could. Well,
we let them do it.
Wait, what are we?
Hold on.
What are we? You're
cleaning. Hold on, let me finish, and then you'll understand. They could certainly fund terrorist activities against us with the money that we've allowed them, with the casinos and non-taxable things, all that stuff. Why is that not happening here, is my question. What is it that we are doing different as Americans? And
because Native Americans are very peaceful.
Yeah,
they're not radical.
There's
not radical
wait a minute.
Native American groups.
This is such revisionist history. The Native Americans were slaughtering, enslaving, and raping each other before we ever got here.
But present day,
my point is why are they not?
That's not their style.
Yeah, but they were sacrificing.
They'll kill people, but they're not, the terrorists.
Well, wait a second. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they're killing each other, not others. It's not terrorism.
I mean, they'll bury you up to your neck and then put fire ants on top of you. They'll do stuff like that. But
wait a minute. Oh, you're telling me that when it was wait a minute, when it was Zeus, when it was possibly a winnable fight. Okay, when there was a war between the Native Americans, the ones that were warriors and that could fight back, and the colonists or the settlers, I mean, what was it? Custer's Last Stand. There were battles, there was slaughter on both sides. It's not like they didn't try to survive and retain their land.
You're not understanding my point. Why is it that we did these supposed? We'll just call them supposed atrocities. Well, but I think it was legitimate.
It was a war. We won. That was how it happened.
But the point is why is it that now, when they have significant amounts of money, that they could do these,
what is your theory? Do you have a theory?
And bomb it. I'm curious as to what is different here in America.
Well, they assimilated.
The difference is,
really,
Zeus, I get your question. Why is it different? Yeah. It's because radical Muslims are fucking radical. They are extreme in their radicalness.
Yeah,
and that's what that is.
Yeah,
and that goes to the show.
Yeah, they're
Native
radical.
Americans, although they might sacrifice Buffalo Bob over there, they're not radical sacrificing all the Buffalo Bobs. I mean,
I just find it interesting.
This is
that they could very well justify a terrorist bombing in a courthouse or whatever.
They don't.
Oh, I know, Zeus. I know what it is, because they're not Marxists.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
That's a fucking great answer. That's the answer I was looking for. It actually brings it all around a little.
Speaking of bringing it all around, I mean, I'm gonna need to get going soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's gonna make the final cut in this episode.
The whole thing.
I'm curious.
It was a good episode, yeah.
I do want to share one thing I heard. So as you stop talking, I can share my thing. Okay, so I heard. This is what I heard. I heard that that each parts of the group, part of the paragliders and the boats peoples and the on the ground attackers and all those each facets of the attack. I heard that they didn't know about each other.
Get out.
What?
Yep.
That kind of makes sense.
Possible.
Listen. No, I heard that
militarily. Yeah, that's possible.
Because if this is all ran by a homeboy on a beach in Qatar. I don't know if Qatar has beaches, but
yes, they got a lot of sand.
There is a lot of sand there. There just ain't a lot of water.
They have beaches. Yeah,
the sand dunes sitting in the sand dunes in Qatar is running this, right? And I mean, no wonder why they didn't think it was going to be so big or I don't want to say successful, but
it's
as large
possible
as it was.
Now that I think about it, yeah.
If each one of them was trained by a different but they this group was just told one thing. The other, because
just in case there's a leak of information, you wouldn't want everybody to know the full
Yeah, that's kind of the mentality behind the like
Manhattan Project.
Yeah. So like the boots on the ground, this more stuff I heard. The boots on the ground guys were actually trained in Iran. The boats people were trained somewhere else, and the paragliders actually were in Gaza. You said
they couldn't leave Gaza. How'd they get over to Iran?
They can't.
Maybe
can leave
Iranians
Gaza.
Came in.
They can't leave. They can't leave Gaza and go to Israel.
But they can leave Gaza.
But you said they couldn't even go to the West Bank.
They can't.
I think they can get on a boat.
They can't.
They can't cross the border.
How did they train in Iran?
Because they got on a fucking airplane, probably a prop job.
Okay,
yeah,
they could go to the West Bank.
Yeah,
then.
I don't know.
Because they cannot cross. If you live in Gaza, you cannot cross the border.
How'd they get to fucking
Israel.
Iran? You got to cross
a fucking
Israel
airplane, an aeroplane, or maybe they
Oh
didn't
my
even.
God.
Maybe those guys were just not even living there.
I
Maybe
mean,
those guys were just
Something's not right with that
ancillary
thing.
Hamas.
Well, I gotta.
You see somebody
They
paragliding. I
paraglided
mean,
all the
what
way
the
over to
fuck?
Iran.
We see
But
that
hold
all
on,
the time.
no, boots on the ground. Those were the guys. The guys that lived in Gaza were the paragliders. Okay.
Yeah.
The paragliders. How do you get a paraglider? I don't know. That where
do they come
what
from?
I heard was, okay, Israel, part of the reason why they didn't see this coming is because how do you not notice all of a sudden a bunch of fucking paraglides? What are they called? Parasails?
They're just into it, maybe.
Yeah.
Parachutes? How do you not notice a bunch of parachutes?
Man, you see it all the time.
Right. How do you not notice a bunch of parachutes like getting shipped in there? How do you not notice a bunch of a big O uptick in the fact that people want to take paragliding lessons?
Well, I think
practicing on the beach.
Yeah, with no return,
because they're so smart.
Learning.
Like they're smart, they're intelligent. So you gotta practice paragliding. You gotta jump off you gotta practice that shit. So it's noticeable. How come in the last year there's all this uptick of fucking all these paragliders around? Because you think it's so dumb. It's so paragliders. Are you serious?
Like,
You're gonna
that's
fucking
nice.
attack
They
me?
developed a hobby.
They clearly didn't see this coming.
That's what I'm saying. They went analog. They went not. And I'm
it was
using
all
the
they could
term
do.
generally.
I think maybe
but they went
didn't
analog.
notice.
They went with word of mouth. They went with different. They went with constructs that were not like digitally.
Zeus. No. What I'm saying is, I think that Israel noticed the fact that there was an uptick of practicing and an interest in paragliding, and couldn't fathom that was
the reason
what they were up to.
It was so dumb.
Right. It's so far fetched. Right.
That's when all these paragliders show up in the sky, they're probably not thinking this is an attack until we're getting attacked. So
same thing with 9/11. Even the plane hits the tower, we were still thinking, no, that must have been an accident.
Must have been
yeah. You don't connect the dots that quick.
On this Christmas, are they going to have like the My Little Jihad paraglider set action figures and
My
and
little
like
jihad, my little jihad.
I'm sorry,
also,
Jack.
I want to know who came up with that. Like, who in Qatar on the sand is saying, "Listen, guys, I got this idea. What if we just use paragliders?"
It is ingenious, though.
Yeah, it
is so stupid.
No, it's diabolical. It's diabolical. Yeah, and look, we touched on the fact that there's certain leftist factions in this country that are jumping on board with the Palestinian cause. But I don't know if we mentioned it because I don't know if it had happened yet, but it probably should be mentioned that in the Twitterverse that Black Lives Matter actually posted an image. It said "We stand with Palestine" and it had a graphic of a paraglider.
But see, that's where
saying it is what it is. So to all my liberal and conservative friends out there that were making excuses and still make excuses for Black Lives Matter going back to 220 before that, now know who the fuck you stand with. Okay? Just know who you stand with. And if that means you stand with Palestine despite the fact that that emblem celebrates the murder of hundreds of innocent people with machine guns, people were raped, dragged off.
They don't think they're innocent. That's the key.
At a music festival, if that's who you're going to equate yourself with, if that's who you're going to donate your money to, then honestly, fuck you.
Fuck you.
And you know what I mean?
They think they had it coming, Jack.
Well said, Jack. Well
No,
said.
I mean, honestly, if I run into somebody who supports Black Lives Matter and is going to throw that shit in my face, and I'm going to pull out my phone, I'm going to pull that shit up and say, go fuck yourself. I don't want to talk to you again.
Yeah.
Because honestly, there's no reasoning with that. There's just not. Like, you could say, look, somebody asks you a question, who are you siding with here? But like, well, I don't really side with anybody, but I condemn what happened, and I don't want to see innocent people die. That's good enough for me. I'll walk away. You know what I mean? But if you're going to preach to me some fucking leftist progressive bullshit, the oppressed, and, up the fucking fist and this power and down with the fucking patriarchy and down with the fucking whiteys and down with traditionalism and down with the Jews,
colonialism,
then you know what? Then I'm going to equate you with terrorism. In my mind, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not talking to you anymore. You're a piece of shit. And I'm okay. And I'm okay making that judgment. Like I really
okay
am.
Wiping those people out of my life.
I really am. I got into it, with someone I love, and they said, well, you really shouldn't take sides in this. It's bigger than you, and it's bigger than this. And I said, look, I'm not taking sides with any nation. I'm taking sides with what I saw with my own eyeballs.
Yeah.
And what I saw was evil with a capital E. And if you can't stand there and condemn what happened with me and just say this was fucking evil, if you just can't do that because it makes you squeamish or whatever, then I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Dude, you just said is what we should have at the front of the episode. That was fucking
that's
beautiful.
what I was thinking too.
Well, it really shows
no, that's fine. Whatever. Okay.
No, I'm
because
dead
that was
serious,
great. That was
man.
perfect.
That's
right.
fucking.
No, it was very well said. It was very well said.
All right,
like that.
I have my moments every 138 episodes. I get it.
A symbol like that, we stand with Palestine and a paraglider. Like, honestly, it really just goes to show that even an organization doesn't understand what they're talking about, because although, yes, Gaza, West Bank, Golan Heights are occupied Palestine, the people in Gaza are not, they have really turned into Hamas. I mean, even the people that lived there previously, I mean, even the maybe the few that aren't, I would beg to I would argue that I think a lot of them have been influenced to think that way.
Yeah,
BLM knows exactly what they're trying to say.
But to that statement, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but the Germans during World War II, they were like, we didn't know what was going on. We were just following orders, and it was, we didn't smell the smell of burning flesh a mile down the road. So there is something to
Germany is a huge country. This is an area the size of Washington.
Fair enough. But my point is people fall into the hive mind and they just go along with what's going on. So to a degree, I get that. I don't support it. I think that what's going on, but you decide to turn away and not pay attention to what your senses are telling you and just go with what makes your life easier in the environment that you're in. So I get that, but yeah, I also don't buy it. If shit's going on, then shit's going on, plain and simple. So, I mean, I agree with you, but
I don't know. I think it goes back to Tom's Second Amendment point. Like, I don't know what these people could do about it when the army and the governmental force of that's in power there.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all walking around with submachine guns, and there's guys on tanks, and there's this and that or whatever they have. Like, it's supposedly the place is half, underage. A million children I've heard, or a million women and children. Like, I don't know what choice I will agree that the media is training all of them to hate the Jews and to hate the state of Israel. Like, we know how the media works. God can only imagine how it works in Gaza Strip, right? Like, but I'm not necessarily holding every civilian accountable for what Hamas did.
All. No, not at all.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't do that in good faith. Like, that's why I'm saying I don't want all of them to get destroyed. Like, I want I don't want every civilian to be a civilian casualty in this. Like, I just don't. I wish Egypt would take them in. I mean, I wish they would.
I want them to have the time to not have bombs going around them and fighter jets flying overhead all the time, where they're constantly on
that's
edge.
already,
I can't even imagine what
it's already
that would
happening.
Like
it's gonna happen. It's gonna get worse. They've already fucking. How many people have died in Gaza now? Like 2,000 at least.
They had that time before last week. They
Yeah.
weren't being bombed by Israel before last week when they attacked Israel. They had plenty of peacetime where they could
like
stop
I said,
and think.
Thank God for the Second Amendment.
Yeah, but that time that they have to stop and think is minuscule to what we here in America have. Like we don't even, I was I was sitting Mike, I was down at Virginia Beach, and there was like some definite activity, like fighter jets and Apaches flying by. They were definitely at least on edge.
Yeah, probably
And
somebody got lost out there.
We saw the news. Yeah, they were mobilizing. They sent the ships over to the Mediterranean. We know.
But Desiree, imagine this: you're sitting there in Kansas, and fighter jets are going over all the time, and the world's on edge.
Listen, I live right next to an airport. That shit is constant.
I figured. Yeah,
it's the air capital of the world, constant. So that was a bad example.
But fighter jets is different. You see,
they had enough peace, Zeus, to plan an attack on Israel. To plan the paragliders, to plan the motorcycles,
hey, I
don't
really
bulldozers.
like where this is fucking going. I better
get out. Plenty of peace to stop and think about what they wanted to do.
No, Desmond just made a great point. It's like, I don't know where this is going, but this is fucking shady as shit.
Do I really want to tear down the fence, go in there and chop a baby's head off? Is that what I really want to do? And they had time to think that.
Do I really want to live in a place that is governed by a terrorist regime?
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Are we not?
You figure out how to get out.
The next election over. That's what I want.
Although you can't.
Yeah.
Although you can't like leave through Israel's border. Previous to just not that long ago, you could have went through. You could have went to Egypt. You could have moved there. I mean, you could have, if you didn't like the regime, you could have, just like we say in America, if you don't like it, get the fuck out. There ain't no one stopping you. We can. So
could have
it's
done like Castaway. Yeah, out the.
So
out the
that's
ocean.
why I say I have to. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm gonna have to feel like the majority of people that are in the Gaza Strip are more.
Yeah, they're there.
More okay with what's going on.
You're sympathetic with it.
And so it's hard to like how do you sift through the innocent and the not? Because what do you do?
That's
knock on
kind
every
of the
door?
point of everything I've been saying.
Listen, knock on
Des, you're right. You can't discern. That's why Israel has no obligation to take people in, and really, I guess at the end of the day, Egypt doesn't either.
And yet Israel has.
The only way. No, Israel hasn't. They've said fuck you.
No, they've got tons of Palestinians that live in there, and they're happy.
No,
in the
we're
West
talking
Bank.
About
in
now.
the West Bank.
We're talking about letting the refugees. There's people that are going to get bombed the shit out of. I mean, that's just the way it is.
The
and no one's taking.
The only way to stop that is I guess you can go and knock on every single door. And arrest every person. Well, you could and arrest every single person that's an adult-aged male.
Right.
But even then, I'm pretty sure that Jihad just like started letting women in.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, how would you knock on every door? We're not there. Like you're talking about post-invasion.
I'm talking about the IDF.
You're talking about post-invasion. Like once we're in there, we're gonna knock on all the doors.
Who, me?
No, you're saying we can't.
Not us.
IDF.
Not us. The IDF. They're already in the gates. They can go in there. IDF can go in there.
Yeah, but we haven't yet.
Not yet.
What? I know, but what I'm saying is,
and I think the big word is
will.
Yet.
Because they're very smart. They're not just going to go fucking off, just like, oh, you bombed us. Oh, you better, everyone, come on, let's go bomb them. Like, they're not going to do that. This is going to be planned response.
Well, I'm talking about whatever's left. They can try to, I don't know what they're even going to do with Gaza, but I'm just saying right now, most civilians are going to get killed in bombing attacks.
What I'm saying is the way you stop that, I guess the only way you can is to knock on every single door and make sure that get all the women and children out, I guess, and put them on a ship.
They're dropping like leaflets from the sky, they're dropping leaflets so that everybody knows, okay, this building is going to be bombed, to get out of that building.
I know that.
This cycle's not
there's not going to be able to go.
This cycle's not going to end. Let's say they invade, they totally destroy Hamas, right? In order to do that, they've got to
fuel more.
It's going to open a vacuum to the next group.
That's what I'm saying. They go in, they take out Hamas completely. They've got to, like, then what? They got to put in a new. They're going to give them another shot. Okay, guys, we're going to let you elect your own government now. Like, that's not going to happen. It's going to be. It's going to become a demilitarized zone.
There's going to be Gaza no more. I feel like, but I mean, to lessen the casualties of innocent people is what I'm saying. That is all I'm saying.
No, you're right. Either you do something, they're going to have to do something with them. You're right.
Either do that, or you're going to just have to say, "Well,
yeah, but
sorry for you."
Here's the thing about.
I mean, you have to do one or the other.
Well, let's get to that point first. A lot of bodies are going to fall before they even get to that point. There's going to be a lot of bombing.
Here's the thing about that. Innocent civilians dying just supports their argument to
right.
You know what I mean?
It's a circular argument, though, is what we're saying.
Yeah, that's the appalling part, and that's where, like, again, not Illuminati, but that's where I'm like, there's something to there. They don't. Maybe even Israel is like, sure, let a few people die because this enhances our argument that they're monsters. Do you know what I mean? Let's wait 6 hours. They could have gotten there in 2 hours. I don't know. That's not what I'm getting at.
That's a conspiracy theory.
But is it that fucking unbelievable that is what people would do?
It would go against everything that Israel's done for, like, Israel will send 20 people to rescue one person. Like, I just don't see them deciding to sacrifice 1,000 people.
But is it outside of the concept of believability? I don't think so.
I mean, it's a conspiracy theory. It's a question mark. They're going to have to figure out why there was such a breach of security and why they were caught with their pants down like this. And I'm sure a lot of money's being spent and a lot of, records and footage, and
there's going to be
they're sifting through all of it, trying to figure out how there could be this much of a breakdown in security, because they'll never let this happen again. So they're going to figure something out.
There's going to be some type of commission on it, I'm sure.
But you see my point is that it's not outside the realm of possibility.
No, right. Well, nothing is really. I mean,
it's counter to your previous statement about all people are basically good.
Well, all people are basically good, but that goes to the 80-20 rule of, like, 20% of the people control fucking everything, and 80% of the people just do what they're told and fucking provide. So I don't know. This has been a great episode, like, for us, just like talking about this. Maybe even better than the last episode. But Jack, I think that you have some words that you can say.
I guess Zeus, you got to go back inside. Mike's got to go. I got to go. I'm sure Desiree and Tom have other things to do. So we've definitely been on for a while now.
Yeah, we really have.
I think it's probably time to wrap things up.
Mm-hmm. Take care.
Now, wait. Before everybody goes, I want
help. This is to help with the editing.
Okay. So what I wanted to do with this episode is do a things to come, some episodes that we're talking about, so maybe we can entice people to listen later. And I wanted to say, well, I was going to talk about that. So Tom has an idea that we want to talk about RFK and his recent backing out of the Democratic Party and going independent. And I had one that I want to talk about with smart cities. And just in general, some things.
We're going to do a Halloween episode.
Yeah, we got to do the Halloween episode.
When is the Halloween episode?
Next week.
Next week. I won't be here, though, because I'm going to be in the Bahamas. Thanks.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
You'll be missed.
Well, we have to see you in a bikini, so come on.
No, I'm good.
Okay, fine.
Yeah,
good. But I wanted to talk about this whole smart city 2023 agenda that they're talking about. Tom wants to talk about RFK, but just to give those who are listening, the 4 people that are dedicated to this show, I just wanted to give things to come kind of vibe. That we're going to be talking about that in the next couple episodes.
Yeah.
Amongst other things. And maybe we do this from here on out. We'll start talking about episodes to come and what we're talking about, maybe hopefully that'll entice our 50 to go to 100 or 51.
Or if
More likely
there's something
51.
that they want to hear, they can type it into the comments.
Yeah,
What
put
you want
something
us
in the
to-
comments.
Yeah, what do you want us to talk
Absolutely.
about?
Yeah,
We love you
please.
guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Those 50 solid listeners that we constantly are getting response from. We love you guys. Please give us something you want us to talk about. We'll talk about it. You may not agree, but at least we'll talk about it and get involved.
All right,
That's
cool.
that's
All
my
right.
words.
Well, now we've been on for a while. So peace
That's
out,
right.
everybody.
All right.